a wonderful day. And I want you to know just how much I'm enjoying being in it. See, when I really heard what my friend was asking me, what's your highest thought about this situation, I realized I had lost track of my vision for my life. I had shifted my values. I was putting something else in the most important place in my life. It's not that my friend was saying suppress your feelings or deny the experience or nothing is happening or stuff it all down or pretend you don't have to deal with it. None of that. He was merely asking me, according to the faith tradition I had chosen, he was saying, concern yourself with lifting your consciousness to the highest place you can, and then let that high consciousness determine everything else. I remember walking with a friend through a very messy separation, a divorce that was quite uncomfortable. And I remember his teacher at the time saying, make sure that the way you show up through this, some years down the road when you look back at it, you can feel more or less proud of how you showed up. And that really stuck with me. I really listened to that because, life, it has endless challenges. And I am trying not to use them as an excuse for poor behavior. I accidentally stumbled on the reality show Bridezilla. Have you seen Bridezilla? I could not peel myself away from it. I was looking, here are people that are upset, outraged, irate about catering and flowers and behaving atrociously. I couldn't stop watching it. And it occurred to me, that the list of difficulties that life presents is endless and the range is infinite. From flowers and schedules to personal relationships dissolving, to health in my body, to the economy, and then it goes global to the issues of a climate that is out of control and a hunger in the world that seems to have no end, and terrorism. And it has always been this way. And so atrocious behavior has always been optional. One of the perils of having an affirmative faith tradition is if we are not mindful and real with it, we can use it to escape the very real challenges of being alive and also the choice of how am I going to show up in it. Because if I'm always waiting for it to not be here, the author of the book Beyond Courage, Chris Ben-Guhe, I think that's how you pronounce his name. He writes, what if happiness isn't supposed to be the goal? Wow. He says, but rather the byproduct, the side effect of a life of worthwhile living, happiness buried deep within the experiences of the ordeals themselves. Oh, I like that. Or as Randy in the book writes, it wasn't easy to stay upbeat during all of his cancer treatment. In fact, it wasn't even easy to know whether or not he was doing well emotionally because he couldn't always tell whether he was authentically showing up upbeat or he was putting on a front for people because of the high demand to show up. In other words, he was very real with what was going on in the confusion of it, acknowledging that it's not easy. And then a friend shared with him a very helpful story, telling him about how one day she was driving home and she found herself behind a man in a convertible, and she noticed that the top was down and the day was beautiful, and this man was enjoying the day just like a beautiful day should be enjoyed, with his hands out the car, tapping out the rhythm on the driver's side door. And she wanted to see more of this head bopping along with the music, so she got as close as she could, and she saw the serene look on the face of a man who was truly in the moment. And then she said, wait, that's Randy. That's the guy with the grim cancer diagnosis. You shouldn't look like that. And so she wrote to him an email saying, you can never know how much that glimpse of you made my day, reminding me of what my life is all about. And in turn, that email to Randy served for him as a reminder about what his life was all about. Today, right now. Wonderful. It was an act of mutual support that was set in motion, a feedback loop of encouragement that took place that reminded me that maybe that's what life is all about, that we can help each other. Eleanor Roosevelt, she wrote, you gain strength, experience, and confidence by every experience where you really stop to look fear in the face. And then she added to it, you must do the things you cannot do. But they stop me, the things I cannot do. And maybe not everybody can identify with Randy's situation, but we've all been stopped by obstacles, whether it's something that's just mildly troubling, like a low-level irritation, or a real big, fat brick wall. The problem with them is that they have the power to distract us from being in the moment, especially if I start following my mind down into nowhere. So I've got a list of obstacles here that give me courage. During the first years of its business, the Coca-Cola company sold 400 bottles. That's an obstacle. Dr. Seuss' first children's book was rejected by 27 publishers. Richard Bach, who wrote Jonathan Livingston Seagull? We could never figure out how to end it, so it lay around for 8 years without an ending. And then when he did end it, it was rejected by 18 publishers. Chicken Soup for the Soul, rejected by 33 publishers for being too nicey nice. Gershwin, the classic Porgy and Bess, was reviewed by the New York Herald Tribune, and they called it rubbish. Rudyard Kipling, he received the following rejection letter from the San Francisco Examiner. Sir, you don't know how to use the English language. And Thomas Carlyle, who wrote the manuscript for the French Revolution, sent it to a friend for a friendly review, and one of the servants in the house used it as kindling for a fire. Had to do it all over. Thomas Edison was sent home from school with a note explaining that he was too stupid to learn. See, they didn't know that he was partially deaf. But he did get his education and went on to fail some 10,000 times on his way to inventing the light bulb. Beethoven was told that he had no talent for music. The painter Renoir, who was struck by torturous arthritis and pain in his hand, they asked him, why do you continue to paint with such agony? And he replied, because the beauty remains, it's the pain that passes. So today, like Randy, wonderful, right now, wonderful. This month, as we explore living from our values, I'm asking myself the question, what if overcoming our ordeals is not actually as important as how we respond to the struggles? And it may sound strange to you when I say that I take peace from knowing that some of the challenges may never be resolved. And ironically, that awareness that some things may never be resolved actually creates a space for me and helps me to deal with the problems better. Creates the space